My name is Christian Dittrich. I'm one of the founders behind SurfEars. I'm an engineer in the background with 25 years on the water as a surfer, especially cold water, which is one of the reasons why I got problems with my ears early on. It's a fact that if you spend time in the water, especially cold water, you get something called surfer's ear after some years of time. What happens is your ear canal starts to narrow down. You build bone, extra bone in your ear canal, and that causes trouble. The trouble being that stuff gets caught inside your ear. It doesn't come out again. And when stuff gets caught, it also catches bacteria and it can start growing, and you get ear infections very easily. So millions of surfers and swimmers and people in general spending time in the water in cold climates have a lot of ear issues. Problem with that is that either you have to stay out of the water or you have to wear earplugs. And when you wear earplugs, you lose your hearing. And you lose your balance, and you lose your sensation of being connected to the environment and hearing what people say around you. And that takes away a huge part of the experience, especially for surfers. Because it's a social sport, you stay out with friends on the water, you want to be able to talk and feel and experience what's going on. And that really, was a huge problem for me, because I had to either choose, to stay out of the water more and more during times, or find a solution to that problem. And that's really why SurfEars came along as an idea, because I needed to hear on the water. And the very start was actually a surf trip to Morocco, where I got bad ear infection on one of my ears. I got totally deaf for about 3 days on that ear. Then it turned to the other ear, and just when this one got sort of okay, this one turned off for about 3 days. So luckily they didn't overlap, otherwise I would have been deaf for 3-4 days. And that was a real pain. That was really like I was on a holiday, wanted to enjoy surfing and being out there with my girlfriend, but I couldn't. So I had to stay in, and she was surfing, and it really sucked. So I went home and talked to my colleagues. At the time, we were running a consulting agency in Malmö. And we figured that, hey, we know some stuff from the old Nokia times. I'm an engineer. I've been working on mobile phones for quite some time, and been in the field of, close to acoustics at least, because there are a lot of acoustic stuff in phones. And I knew something about the materials that you use in mobile phones to protect speakers and microphones. And we started figuring that, okay, maybe we can take some know-how from the mobile phone business, take into earplugs, make a product that can enable you to hear while protecting you from the water and the cold and the bacteria and whatever is out there. So that was the starting point. We also had a 3D printer, luckily, at the time, hugely a great tool for testing out your ideas. So we started making prototypes of an earplug where you had sort of an ear canal going through and some sort of protective membrane. And we tested this in hundreds of different iterations. So it took about 2 years, actually, to test out until we had something we felt worked well enough. And we went, out on the water in Sweden. We tested. We went back to the drawing board, drew up something new, printed it out, went, tested, sent it out to all our friends. So during the very initial period, SurfEars was tested, in Sweden, in minus degrees, in Barbados, in tropical surf, in Australia, in the Canary Islands. Sent it all around the world with people to get real feedback from real people having the same problems as I had, to make sure that we were actually, helping people in the right way. And after about 2 years, we felt that we had something that worked well enough that, enable you to hear almost like normal, but completely protecting you against the environment. And that was a really good feeling to have that actually, have accomplished that. And so we decided, okay, let's see if there's a market big enough for this. So we decided to put it on Kickstarter, a good tool for validating your ideas on the market. And luckily, people wanted to buy it. Enough people wanted to buy it for us to be confident that, yes, we're going forward, we're making a company out of this, we're starting up the production, and we're going forward. So that was a huge check mark, you can say, on our side. And then we started looking into swimming. And I know a lot about surfing, I don't know a lot about swimming. So there we figured, okay, we need maybe to team up with someone who really knows swimming. We knew that there were issues in swimming as well, especially open water. And actually through competition, which I think you saw us on Kickstarter, right?
I saw you on Kickstarter,
yeah.
Yes. And that was in, that has been June or July 14 or something, yeah. I think it was. And I approached you and suggested that you should be sponsoring my event,
yeah.
In fact, in Denmark.
And just for the viewers, maybe let's introduce you as well.
Yeah, and my name is Hans Henrik, and I'm an open water swimmer, first and foremost, and then I've been starting out companies for a long time. And besides that, I've been connected into, the e-commerce society in Denmark. I've been chairing the e-commerce foundation for 12 years or so, I think it was. And yeah, I'm a startup guy as well, besides swimming, and especially in open water. And yeah, I approached Christian in 2014 because I had this triathlon event going on in Denmark. And I was on the hunt for sponsors and doing partnerships. And we started out talking together, and all of a sudden I was over here in Malmö for evaluating the competition and our collaboration. And Christian asked me, well, would you like to join the team? And we had a discussion and negotiation around that, and all of a sudden I was commuting from Copenhagen to Malmö every day. Great stuff. So I've been on the team for 1.5 years almost, I think, almost 2 years. And yeah, we started out to, in fact, do the same thing again with SwimEars, as you did explain with SurfEars. So we created the product. You've been doing some drawings and stuff as well, and we did the Kickstarter last summer, I think it was. And thankfully, we had a successful Kickstarter campaign once again. And that was the kickstart of trying to sell SwimEars. And my main responsibility here in Ear Labs is, in fact, doing partnerships, the overall sales and marketing. And yeah, I went on television with the Løvens Hule, or the Shark's Tank, because Christian had a business to do in Portugal, and I was the sales guy type of guy, so I was the one who picked. I was the lucky one that day. That was great fun. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it's a fun opportunity that we managed to get this team together. I think what's unique about our setup right now is that we're completely driven out of passion. Like we're 3 permanent employees in the company right now, and we're all either really enthusiastic surfers or swimmers. We have two people on the sideline who are currently full-time in the business, might stay, hopefully. They're also passionate surfers. And it seems that drawing on this passion is really an important thing for us, because let's face it, earplugs is not the most sexy product category in the world, but can you make it fun and can you make it part of something bigger, then it can really become something fun and cool. Which is something we've learned that, okay, we need to package this in a way so people like it, people can believe in it, and people can, sort of connect to it. And that's why our ambassadors, which you see here in the background, are hugely important. If we were just to go out and sell an earplug and try to convince people that it's great, it's going to be very hard. If we have, a world champion on surfing and swimming, and then I think we have about 150 people, local ambassadors, really, heroes in their own area, using this because they need to and they want to, and promoting it because they feel it's good for them and it could be good for others. That's one of the best ways to promote your product, I think, because it's that way it sort of sells itself in a way when people just endorse it.
I think definitely that what we have been able to do is to build value within the product. If you compare SwimEars and SurfEars to other earplugs in the market, they don't do any marketing, they don't do any brand building around their product. And that is what we have been able to do and what we are trying to, do all along. So creating and having those ambassadors, on team is definitely one of the means that we are trying to use for building up the brand and value.
Yeah. So talking some more about our Kickstarter, we've done 2 Kickstarters now, one for SurfEars, the first version, and one for SwimEars when we launched it. And Kickstarter is a great tool for validating that there are actually people who want to buy your product. That's the main thing you want to get out of a Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a lot of work. It takes a huge effort from the team to pull it off, because you have to have everything ready. You have to have a really good video. You have to have a really good sales package around the product, with the product text, with the images, with the renderings. You have to have the Kickstarter page up and running. You also want to have a web page on your own. You want to have the social channels so you can promote it. You want to have your web shop up and running the day after Kickstarter stops. There is a huge amount of preparation going into it and synchronizing that. So I think one of our greatest learnings is that it's usually stressful, but it's also really good for your company, because you get the firm deadline that on this date we're going to be ready with all these things, and having that date, it makes you commit to getting all that stuff done. So we actually nailed it both times. After that, we felt very much more mature than we would have done if we just went on and did a soft launch, maybe, because then we wouldn't have that firm deadline. The other big thing coming out of Kickstarter is maybe not the money itself. It's good, of course, that you're doing pre-sales. You're selling product, on the paper. You're not delivering it until later, but you're getting the money now. You can use that money for setting up manufacturing and whatever you might need it for. But the big thing is the networking and exposure effect coming out of Kickstarter. For example, for us, it meant that some of the big distributors around the world got attention about us. They saw us and they figured out this is a cool product. We might be able to work with that. They contacted us instead of us having to, look out and try to reach them. So we ended up, having to almost pick between the best 3 surf distributors in the world who all wanted to work with us because we had presented ourselves globally. We had a good product with good margins. They saw a good opportunity. So we ended up in a very beneficial situation with regards to distribution. That's one thing. Also, there are magic things happening on Kickstarter all the time. So we had, without going into too much specific details, there's so much unknown that can happen, but both good and bad. I mean, we ended up with a guy in Dubai helping us out, we were just on the limit of being funded, and this guy comes along and says, hey guys, you have a great product. I'm a triathlete, I love you guys. I'm going to fund the rest of your campaign. Yeah. Fantastic. So he helped out in a huge way, became one of our good ambassadors after that as well. Happens a lot of stuff.
I would just to add on that, having all that preparation going on, that is a kind of fundament for doing the Kickstarter in the first place. But what is going on while being on Kickstarter, that's a tremendous amount of work. I remember when we had the SwimEars campaign going on last summer, I planned holiday on Bornholm in Denmark, and you were away, I think, also, and we had this Kickstarter campaign going on. And I had, I didn't tell my family that I had a Kickstarter going on. They knew somehow, but they didn't know anything about the amount of work. So I had to, answer mails and, questions and whatnot while being on Bornholm eating ice cream. That was fun and a lot of work, I can tell you. Yeah. So nothing great is easy, and I was astonished about how many hours we had to put in to secure funding. So it's not just because you build it and people will come. They will not. They don't know you. They don't know that you are on Kickstarter. You have to tell them. And that's, I think, a major takeaway for everybody who plans to be on Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly. And especially the more prepared you can be before your Kickstarter. So for example, if you launch on Kickstarter and that's the first day that the world gets to know that you exist, your company and your product, then from that day you have maybe 30 days, depending on what you set your limit to on Kickstarter. Then you have 30 days to tell the world that you exist and for people to come and check it out and hopefully buy it. If you would have told the world 3 months in advance and made a huge effort to spread the word, that would have been a totally different situation on the day one of your Kickstarter. If 10,000 or 100,000 people know about you when you launch, that's a much better position than if 2 people know about you.
Exactly.
So that's for ourselves, like the next one, that's where we're going to put the major effort besides doing the product, like the pre-launch of the Kickstarter. That's really about preparing for success, I think.
In relation to ambassadors coming on board, well, maybe you can tell something about Tom Carroll.
Yeah, so that was also sort of a side effect to Kickstarter, actually. I think Tom had heard of us on Kickstarter, and our distributor, which we ended up working with in the end, Creatures of Leisure, they're called, they already had Tom on their team with their products, and they knew that Tom had just operated one ear for surfer's ear removal and then had the other one scheduled for operation. So he was a very good candidate of, he needed the product. They sent it to him for testing it out. He loved it, and we made a deal with him. So he has a small royalty on whatever we sell, but he really endorses it. He really likes it. He really uses it, and he felt that this is perfect for me. And I mean, being off competition these days, he needs also to find ways of making a living, and being an active ambassador for brands, utilizing his network and still fame that he has is a good way to do so. And especially if you can really endorse a product by using it yourself and genuinely believing in the product, that's a good way of being able to promote it. So Tom, we got through the distributor, which we got through Kickstarter. Dave Scott, slightly different story.
Yeah, I think it came around because of, how was it? We had several connections to him, but it was also, in fact, our distributor who had a relationship somehow.
Yeah.
And they approached him, and they had some meetings with him, and he tried the product, and he was, as as it happened with the SurfEars, he was also astonished about what it could do, and we closed that deal, during spring or something, during summer this year. And the triathlon is a different sport compared to surfing. Surfing is more, I would argue, not being a surfer. More like a lifestyle kind of attitude thing, where triathlon is also a lifestyle, very much lifestyle, but it's more about the bike and the wetsuit and the gadgets around the sport and so forth. And when it comes to the swimming part of triathlon, you don't have any gadgets. You don't have a running computer on your arm or anything like that. You have your goggles and your wetsuit. And being confident and feel secure in the water, being able to hear what is going on around you, is also a very crucial part of being in the water. So Dave Scott saw that, and it was somehow pretty easy to convince him that he should be the ambassador for that. So that's great. And he is a true legend and hero within triathlon. Everybody who do the sport of triathlon knows who Dave Scott is. So that's just an amazing ambassador for us to have on board, definitely. The story behind Løvens Hule, we didn't plan for this at all. What we did early this year was we started out to strategizing around our company, saying, okay, what do we want? What do we wish for our company in the future? And we had internal dialogues around bringing investors on board and so forth. And in that process, it just came up that Løvens Hule could be an opportunity for us. And we did the application, and we went in front of the camera in April it was, and it was aired here early November. And what happened after that, we didn't plan for at all. It was amazing, I would say. And you were in Portugal at that time, so it was pretty funny for you to see what in fact was said before the camera and so on. And the response have been amazing. People have been so kind to just send emails, SMSs, calling me. Old colleagues from 30 years ago almost. Good friends from ground school have been writing to me and so on. As one part of it. Another part of it have been people who wants to partnering up with us. Some good suggestions, but also some bad suggestions who thinks that okay, now you got a lot of money, so now you can use some of that on me. Hashtag not, I would say. A lot of fun has come out of that, and that's been amazing. I would say definitely. I don't know what you have been experiencing.
Yeah. No, I've also. I mean, I think it's more impactful than I would have imagined. I think. I mean, being a small country, Denmark and Sweden both, I think the amount of response coming out of it is huge. I think for the future, where I see most value is maybe in the future where we might want to do another round of investment, where now this exposure has actually benefited us as a company, bringing up the exposure of a company and people actually knowing about it now. Also the value of having these three investors on board, which now that it's out in the air, they can actually tell about it, they can actually get exposure about it. Before we couldn't really talk about it. Now it's out there, they're super keen on making it a success for us as well, because it's their investment. That's the game. And I think for the next one, having them on board already as just an enforced team, that's usually valuable for people coming in the future, having sort of already a accredited state that these guys believe in it. They are they know what they're into, so that vouches for others to maybe come into it as well. And together with them, utilizing their network, their connections, and also as mentors and coaches, helping us, decide what's the right future for Ear Labs. That's where I see the huge value in this.
I totally agree. The network's effect is definitely tremendous, I would say. And we will see how big an impact that will create for us. And I'm pretty sure that everybody knows Christian, Jesper, and Jesper, Christian, and Tommy. Nobody knows about Christian here or Hans Henrik.
Not yet.
Not yet. I know. So Løvens Hule in Danish is an equivalent to the Shark Tank in the US or Dragon's Den. So it's a television show where we as entrepreneurs are facing investors, pitching our idea, and then based on that pitch, the investors they decide if they want to invest or not. So that's a pretty awesome format. And a huge challenge for, I would say, almost every entrepreneur.
So it's in definition. Of course, we have many ideas of what could be next. The hard part is to focus it down on something very concrete. So what's for sure is that, our company is called Ear Labs. We have set a direction towards ears. There is a huge thing in the movement of wearables and especially hearables these days. Technology in your ear makes a lot of sense in many ways, especially for athletes, for example. Instead of having a screen in front of your face, having to do input via hands, having voice-activated commands or voice feedback is a lot more freedom for an athlete. So for us, that's a very interesting field to operate in, to see what can we do for athletes or for people who are active and could use input and could interact with your smart devices in another way through your ear. That's the space where we really want to be. And where we actually have a lot of know-how already. So on the side, as a side note, I mean, there's a background behind Earlabs as well. We're a spin-off to another company called Frankly. And Frankly is a tech agency which was formed in 2011, which has done a lot of products within IoT and wearables. And today could be one of the leading agencies, I'd say, in the world in the field of wearables and Internet of Things. And that know-how comes in very handy now that we in Earlabs are going to see what can we do to put more tech in people's ears going forward.
Well, I think one of the most important things, for me at least, here at Earlabs is that we are very much driven by passion. So it's very much about heart, and that gives so much more energy on a daily basis. If your heart is, just working like hell in a very positive way, because you work on your idea that you love and you are passionate about. So my main advice for entrepreneurs would be that if you can't feel your heart beating, don't do it.
Yeah, so another tip which I think is important to think about is it's very easy to struggle by yourself, all alone, feeling that it's extremely hard and that you don't make progress. And that's natural starting out that way as an entrepreneur. But I think for me, like a huge learning is that build a strong team around you that can help you and support you with people who are, equally passionate about what you want to achieve, but who might be better at what they do than what you might be at that certain task. Because if you struggle alone, it's going to be forever hard and you're going to have a hard time growing. With the team around you, you're going to have a much more fun environment working and much easier to go forward.
Hør anden del med Jesper Weisel om, hvordan det var at pitche for løverne i DR's iværksætterprogram Løvernes Hule.
Altså, vores realistiske forventning var, at vi lå faktisk på hotelværelset dagen før og drak en cola, og så sagde vi, skulle vi bare lade være. Fordi der er ikke nogen af dem, der har penge til rent faktisk at gøre det. Og der er formentlig ikke nogen af dem, der vil være på. Og da vi kommer ind,
Følg Hver TV på LinkedIn, Twitter og Facebook. Så får du besked, når vi udsender nye indslag om e-handel og iværksætteri.